Zillmer. Today on ACA Cast, listeners will get to know Patrick Russell, the latest addition to our advocacy team at ACA's office in Washington, D.C. He will share his insights on working on the Hill and with members. Hi, Patrick. So where are you from and what brought you to D.C.?
I am from Indiana, a little suburb outside of Indianapolis, and I moved to D.C. about 2 years ago to get involved in politics and policy. The world of advocacy was kind of a big draw for me.
Great. So with that, tell us a little bit about your work in government affairs and the accounts receivable management industry before you came to ACA.
Sure. I worked in state-level politics in Indiana for a little while, worked for a think tank based in Indianapolis that worked across the country that was involved in politics and policy, more in the education sphere, but it was a good introduction to how things work. And then more recently, I worked for Liberty Mutual, their federal affairs team here in Washington, D.C., supporting their political needs and their political advocacy needs as well.
Okay, so Patrick, why is it important for ACA to have a voice on the Hill?
We want to be involved. We want to be in the know. Important to have member representation involved in any sort of conversation having to do with financial services or debt collection or, a whole host of issues when we want to have a say in how things are shaped and formed that might affect the industry as a whole. So it's incredibly important to have connections and to have those inroads with policymakers, trying to stave off any sort of bad developments, but really trying to craft policy that's beneficial for the industry as a whole is vitally important.
Sure. Those are obviously various things important here to us at ACA. So I know you're just getting started, but do you have, a few projects you'd like to talk about that you'll be working on in the coming months with ACA?
Drawing on my sort of past experience with Sallie Mae in Indianapolis, I hope to provide a sort of expansion on the outreach here, the education piece that Leah and Ray are already doing. I know that updating tracking and materials that we already have handout-wise is going to be a big thing, but adding boots to the ground for events and hearings and meetings is hopefully going to be playing a part in.
Definitely. So in general, with that, why is advocacy for this industry, now that you're on board with ACA, important to you?
I think there's not having worked in the industry for terribly long, I think there's just sort of a misconception about what debt collections is like and who's involved in the industry. And I want to help put a nice face and a smile to as best I can, educating legislators and policymakers just about how human it really is.
Absolutely. And being that you'll be part of our team out there as boots on the ground in DC, as you said, what are some ways you think you'll be working with members or that you'd like to work with members in the coming months?
Well, I hope to be a resource whenever I can. My door is always open sort of thing. I have my phone on me at all times. So if a member has any kind of question, I'd like to be there for them. Providing updates from Capitol Hill, any sort of legislative or regulatory or even political updates that I can, and answering questions as they come. I hope to be interacting with them, and then especially with the fly-in, helping set up meetings and provide sort of training if need be.
Sure. Well, that will certainly keep you busy, I'm sure. So, but at the same time, you've got to unwind a little bit. So what do you like to do for fun outside of work?
I enjoy cooking quite a bit. I'm pretty big into cooking, and not so much baking, but I'll try it if I have to. The usual things. I really like to travel. I enjoy reading. I love to ski. I try and go skiing at least once or twice a year. That about covers it.
Good. Well, we're very glad to have you at ACA. And if members want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Russell at ACAinternational.org would be great.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Patrick. We're glad to have you here at ACA.
Thanks, Katie.
Yep. Thank you. That's this week's episode of ACA Cast. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.